Punta Gorda, Florida, 33982.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Sir, the way this is going to proceed is the county will go first, and
Yeah, been here once.
okay, but for the benefit
Can you hear me all right?
I'm sorry?
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we're fine.
Okay, great.
But for the benefit of the people who are in the back of the room that haven't been through the process, the procedure is we have the county go first to call its witnesses and present their evidence because they have the burden of proving the existence of these violations, and then we shift the focus to the property owner or the property owner's representative. We only ask that during each side presentation of the issues, if you're not interrupt, because you'll be given a full opportunity to respond. We know that each side may not necessarily agree with what the other side is saying, but if you just be patient, we'll have the full opportunity to, you'll have the full present your matter. Okay, so if the county's ready to proceed with that, our first witness, please.
Officer Drown.
Thank you, Your Honor. The property address is 4820 and 4828 Duncan Road. The owner of the property, Luis Little and Donald Daubenmeyer. Case number is COD 1503061. The case was to be heard before the magistrate on June 1st, 2016 for the violations of junk-like conditions, prohibited use, and parking of vehicles and trailers. I re-inspected the property on July 2nd, 2018, and found that violations substantially still exist. This is the second A&C, which is a 90-day fine for the amount of $9,020. Excuse me.
Does the county have anything further at this time?
Nothing further.
Mr. Daubenmeyer?
I'd like to question JD, if I will.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Am I allowed to question the witness?
Why don't we hear from you first? I'll give you that opportunity if you feel it.
Well, that's kind of what I'm leading into.
All right, go ahead.
It's part of my presentation. If the attorney could approve these to give to JD.
Your Honor, I have no objection to JD reviewing these, but I'm not sure of the relevance of these photographs.
I understand. Well, it's
A little levity on this one, please.
just a procedural issue. Since the county still technically with its burden of proof, I mean, if this were a civil trial, I'd be able to consider a cross-examination admitting evidence, but ultimately I'll just, if it's going to be admitted, it'll be just given the particular weight that and degree of relevance that may be applicable or that I find applicable.
Your Honor, do you need to see the photographs first before they go to Mr. Drown?
Mr. Daubenmeyer, is this going to be relevant to what you're going to cross-examine the witness on?
Absolutely, sir. Otherwise, I wouldn't have wasted the court's time.
Okay, then I'll use my discretion. I'll go ahead and mark those as respondents' composite exhibit A. And if you would please describe for me, Mr. Daubenmeyer, what these pictures represent.
Actually, they're to go to JD during questioning. One is a baseball, one is a hummingbird. I know, it makes no sense right now, it will. The county has nothing, no pictures to introduce into evidence.
We do have pictures to introduce into evidence, and when His Honor asks for them, we will put them in.
Okay.
Would you like to see the pictures I have to introduce into evidence at this time here?
Are those different than the ones you just provided?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, we need to, if they were pertaining to what you're going to cross-examine the witness on, we need to... Absolutely. We need to have counsel review those, and
okay.
If you're going to submit those into evidence, then I think the parties can testify.
I'm going to go ahead and...
evidence.
I'm sorry, I have a hard time hearing it. I thought you were done. I do apologize. 2 sets of pictures. Might as well have both sets admitted at this point. These are also emails. You need medical, tow truck slips, and of course this. ought to be introduced into evidence, please.
Your Honor, I would just like to state that we're here on an affidavit of noncompliance for your order, June 1st, 2016. And according to Officer Drown's testimony, he took pictures on and visited the property on July 2nd, 2018. I have one set of photographs that are undated that were handed to me, and another set that's dated July 3rd, 2018.
The undated pictures? I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, what I need to do, though, is he's going to have an opportunity to explain to me why, if the officer's testimony is correct, he'll have the opportunity to explain to me that it has been in compliance or it isn't in compliance, and if it isn't, why. So I'll have to find out. I just don't know until he gives his side of the matter.
Thank you very much.
As I said, since the rules of evidence are relaxed in these proceedings, I'll just go ahead and admit those if there's no objection, and I'll just determine the relevancy and the weight at the appropriate time. In other words, I don't have enough evidence to determine whether or not these.
That's what I'm supplying you, Your Honor. The undated pictures, it may help out, came from your department. The pictures that are undated, and we can verify that through the little blonde girl at the building department that helped me out.
Okay. Just bear with us for a few minutes. I have to go through the.
No problem. At this point, would you like to have me review the photos that you have for evidence?
Why don't you, procedurally we're getting at a way, but you've represented to me that what you are having marked now is pertaining to the questions you're going to ask.
Right, but I also would like to see
when she's finished, she's got to do her burden of proof first. Sure. She's not finished.
Okay.
So just hang on there, and then let me.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Procedurally, everything you want will probably come in, but I just have to go through the process so I don't get confused.
Understandable. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we have Respondent's Composite Exhibit B, which is, I'll describe as a series of apparent emails, and there's a separate section with photographs on it. Those documents are Composite Exhibit B. There are photographs that
those are directly from the county, sir.
These have been marked as Respondent Exhibit C. There is a larger.
Call them preliminary, sir.
Drawing that's been marked as Composite Exhibit D. We already marked A. Okay.
I'm just putting paper.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Sir, in your examination of the officer, if you would refer to the exhibit so that the record's clear.
Okay.
If you need those back, we'll get them to you. We get somebody to hand it to them. And
can I place them up here so I can work with them?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Why don't you come up here and go ahead and.
I'm not going to try to kiss you, I swear.
Right, because those are going to be marked and put into evidence, make sure you don't walk off with them, okay?
Did these go to JD?
I've seen them, thank you.
You seen them?
Yes.
Okay. Could you hand them to them and questions, please? Thank you. Is that all admitted also?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all admitted. I'm just going to give them the weight that I find appropriate based on the evidence. So, all right, sir. Now, the scope of your cross-examination needs to relate to what he's testified to, and then after the county is finished, it still has more evidence to put into evidence. So as soon as that process is finished, then we'll focus on what you have to say outside of your cross-examination.
The pictures I understand that will be introduced will be integral to my...
We'll go through the same process with
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
that we just did with you. So,
I don't want to waste too much time here.
okay, so go ahead and ask Officer Brown whatever questions based on what he testified.
Can you describe in detail the conditions of the property that warrant, and it's something I've been asking you for about, since May? What is in violation? Because I just need to know what I need to fix. Could you please give me a list or read out what the violations are? You've told me many times over that I need to look them up in a book. I need to request this FOIA information. I need to request that FOIA information. I would assume as an inspector you'd be able to list the inspections on the house. And give me just a second so can I borrow your pen? Sure. Thank you.
I did.
Where is that email?
Actually, give it to the attorney. Mr. Dobbenmeyer, when we spoke originally, as I explained to you, the charges were sent to you in a letter.
Yeah, I've got a copy of that, sir.
Prohibited uses and structures, junk-like conditions, parking of boats, recreational vehicles, trucks, and trailers.
Okay, and that would be...
That would be your original notice of violation.
What, I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time with this. What section would those be, please?
3937E, which defines the prohibited use and structures. Charlotte County Code 3976, junk-like conditions. Charlotte County Code Section 3-9-79.1, parking of boats, recreational vehicles, trucks, and trailers.
Okay, could you describe how the violation exists in all three of those, please? And let me hurry this along. One of these, I believe it's the third one, that you're saying that I'm living in a camper. Is that correct?
No, that was not the charge.
That is a statute that I'm looking at. It's either an ASE trailer or a living in a camper.
The third charge was parking of boats and trailers.
Okay, I don't have a boat.
Well, it's under the same statute.
Okay, how would that? Let me explain this to you, if I could, for a second. I've been after JD for finding out what the violations are, so I can correct them. I have yet to been explained what the actual violations are. I'm referred to a book and a site, so I'm trying to find out today.
Well, I sent you those because you're...
Excuse me, Mr. Dobbenmeyer, you do understand that based on what he said, his testimony on May 3rd, if he walked onto your property,
which he did,
he described certain conditions. So that's really the snapshot in time that we're looking at.
Okay, I understand that. Yeah.
Okay, so then your questioning, needs to relate to that. You'll have an opportunity to address that. So I think Officer Drown's gone through the code section. So okay. If there, go ahead and you're welcome to ask him, as to the specifics of it. But those, in other words, I'm trying to save time so that we're focused on what the issue is. I know the history that led us to this point.
Yeah, I do
but
too.
What his testimony is and the exact period in time that we're concerned about was on May 3rd. So if you walked out the front door of your house and looked around, he's describing what would have been seen, and so that's the issue.
That's why I asked for the pictures that he was going to introduce into evidence to be introduced now, so I can look at them and cross-examine through them.
Okay, but if you restrict your questions just to what he said, then
sure.
You'll have a broader opportunity in just a few.
Understand, again.
It's hard. I know that you're not used to this, but...
No, I usually tell people how things broke, not how to put them together.
Okay, but go ahead and with your questions. I want to make sure you have a full opportunity to question the witness.
Could you read the sections, please, that you are in the violations?
The ones I just read to you again? You want
the section in which it... Because you won't tell me what the specific...
The specific, on May 3rd, the specific issues I seen that I observed and took photographs of from the sidewalk and from the adjoining lot next door, the vacant property, was junk-like conditions. You had trailers full of trash and debris. You had trash and debris alongside of the house. You had inoperable vehicles, clearly, and trailers in the yard. One with actually had been dismantled and sitting there in pieces. And those were the areas that were of concern.
So we're here today because of the inoperable vehicle that you say obviously is not operable. We're here for the junk-like conditions and because I'm living in a camper.
I did not state living in a camper, sir.
Well, I'm just quoting what the paperwork says, that you guys have. I'm here today because one of the accusations is that I'm living in a camper. Are you deleting that from the...
I did not address that issue in my concern on May 3rd.
Very well. Have you been, you said you're aware of the two pictures I gave. Well, let's hold that off to you introduce yours. If you just give me a minute, Your Honor. Junk-like conditions, can you give me the Webster's Dictionary version of junk-like conditions? Webster's Dictionary, please.
You know, we can. When you give your case, you can describe to me the positions. I mean, the conditions on the property as of May 3rd. But you know, I think he's already described what the conditions were. Again, I'm just trying to move this along, and I know that you're not used to cross-examining witnesses. Few people would be, but again, I'll give you a full opportunity. Just if.
Very well.
He's already described it to you, so we're kind of just going over the same ground again.
Very well, Your Honor. I appreciate it, and like I said, I appreciate it. And my job is figuring out how things broke, not how to put them back together.
Sure. And I understand that you disagree with the officer's testimony, and I'm going to give you a full opportunity shortly here to do that. But if there's something in particular that you've already asked him and he's described, and you ask it again, we're just going over and over the same thing.
You had been to my house what day this week?
It was actually on the 2nd. It batched through on the 3rd. Sometimes with our computer system, the photos are marked the 3rd. They were actually taken on the 2nd.
So there's an inaccuracy in the photos, is what you're telling me?
No, the photos are accurate. I'm testifying to the fact that the photos that I take are clearly and accurately reflect the conditions on the time I visited.
And you state that you were there July 2nd?
That is correct.
Okay. You had mentioned that you were on, and this is in the emails too, Your Honor, that I had sent to you. You had mentioned that you had gained access to took pictures of my property from what vantage point?
From the vacant lots behind your property and from the sidewalk.
Okay, and that vacant lot that you took pictures from, is it the one with the triple axle? And this is something I've asked you in email. Is it the triple axle trailer parked there without plates, or is it the house that hasn't been mowed in a year with random stuff thrown in the yard? Which vacant lot?
It was the two. I was right between the two of them on the back side of your parcel.
You can't be between the two. One is this way, and there's 4 houses in between.
We'll cover that.
Okay.
What you're doing, what you're winding up doing, sir, is just arguing with the witness. And I know, like I said, I know you don't agree with him, but
I understand. I'm just trying to defend myself the best way I know how, and I didn't feel like that bringing in a lawyer at this point was in my best interest. I figured we could just work it out like men, so I'm working this myself, and I do appreciate your coaching.
Okay. Again, I'm just trying to maintain control here.
Okay. I may want to ask, because I'm not sure of procedure, other questions, otherwise we can get moving at this point.
Well, you would have the right to recall the witness when you're presenting your side of this if you need to. So if something occurs to you, we can do it at that time, okay?
Thank you very much.
Your Honor, we have the photographs from the case from the beginning until 7/2.
Sure, and I assume that's probably what you were going to offer into evidence.
Yes.
He wanted to cross-examine. If we've completed that at this point, then the county will proceed with the rest of its case. Then we put the spotlight on you.
If I'm not leaving it like you said, if I can recall, I'm good.
Okay, that's fine. Then the counties have anything further that it wants to place into evidence or witnesses that it wants to call?
The county would like to present these photographs into evidence in support of Officer John's affidavit.
Thank you, Mr. Horton. Kind of hard to see these things.
Sir, if you're not right on those because you're altering an exhibit.
Well, there's certain things in discovery that I asked for that it wasn't provided for after determining several different ways. So part of these photos I will allow, part I won't.
Okay, then let's talk about that as soon as you've looked through all of those. You can know all the objections you have at one time.
Sure. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, now that you've had the opportunity to look through those, what was your concern, sir?
Of course, through discovery, you're allowed to defend yourself, and I've been trying to coordinate how to ask the question to be able to visually view my file so I can defend myself against pictures that were taken because, and later on in my testimony, you understand why I'm so concerned about this. But I have not seen, nor have been able to discover, nor find out what the conditions were of the day in question, so therefore I don't know particularly if they even are the day. Like JD stated, some of the days on the pictures are different from what they're shown.
All right, but in terms of these photographs, my understanding is these were the ones that were entered in, what's the date of these photographs?
They're, what?
From 2015 to present, I believe.
No, actually they're, oh, okay.
These are 2018 photographs.
2018? Mm-hmm. All right.
And those are after receiving, well, I can't even say that. Those are after being made aware of this meeting here today, so they were actually taken after the fact. And I don't see how, and again, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't argue it, but I can't see how something not allowed in discovery can be entered into somebody's violation without them being able to defend themselves on particular pictures.
Well, yeah, we're giving you that opportunity today.
Okay.
These photographs, who took these?
Officer John.
I did, Your Honor.
Okay, and did these fairly and accurately depict the conditions as of the date?
A second, Your Honor. What happens is because we use two different softwares and in the communication between the two, when I print them, it prints a different date than they're actually taken in the separate software, because it uploads later to the program we use, sir.
So the date of these pictures is
On the printout is...
printout. Okay, that's what I was trying to find out. Okay.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. We're talking about the photographs. Now, I know you have some objections to them. Have you stated all of your objections?
I wish no photos to be entered that were taken dated June 16th or June 11th. I think there's two pictures. Could we remove those, please? The other speculation, I'll go ahead and allow those to be introduced as evidence as described on the grounds that we do not transmit through video. I have security problems on that land as it is. I don't need anybody else looking up on the video and saying, hey, I need that, let's go get it. That's fair enough?
All right, so those would be marked as Charlotte County Composite Exhibit 1 and admitted into evidence.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Sean, you want to...
May I look with you?
I'm just going to try to find the date you're talking about.
Your Honor, we would like to move that the photos are entered in its entirety into evidence.
Sure, we're going to go ahead and admit those as Charlotte Composite Exhibit 1. And he indicated that he was withdrawing his objection, and so...
Yeah, 611.
Do you need a pen?
You know what?
I know he's got yours. Okay.
Let him go. Okay. Let them all go. Tends to prove my case anyways.
Okay, go ahead.
Is that good with you, ma'am?
All right. Anything further from the county at this time?
Just to reiterate that Officer Drown is testifying today in regards to his observations made prior to filing his affidavit.
Okay, thank you. All right. Mr. Dubmeyer, it's your turn.
Okay. I'm allowed to question now, JD.
Well, if you need to call him back, we can do that. But
JD.
You can do that now, or you can tell me what's going on. And again, what I need to hear from you, Mr. Dubmeyer, is that the county's alleged that these conditions existed as of May 3rd, and the question I have to determine is, did those conditions exist or not? So if you can tell me.
Getting back, I'm going to take it off the record for a second. Getting back to what I said earlier, and again, I don't want it to influence this. I've spent the last year studying you and how you act and how you are a very fair person in a broken system, and I do appreciate you, in fact, you being here. So I will work within your tolerances and try to defend myself as best I can.
Sure.
JD. If I could go ahead and question him now, because it results directly in my explanation.
We'll select your first witness as Officer Brown, so go ahead.
I introduced two pictures into evidence, one being a baseball, one being a hummingbird.
I see them, sir. Yes.
The hummingbird, would you say that's a fair and accurate representation of a hummingbird in the way you'd see it in nature?
Sir, as I'm not an expert in that field, I would say, generally speaking, that would be correct. I'm not an expert, so I couldn't testify to that.
Really, what is that?
It goes to fair. It goes to fair and what's it? Fair and accurate pictures.
No, I understand, but I mean, what does that have to do? You've admitted two diagrams, one of a baseball in the sky, one of a hummingbird, and I don't see the relevance of either one of those to the issue that we're here about today.
It goes to the testimony of fair and accurate description of the property at the given time.
Well, why don't we just go ahead and instead of looking at optical illusions or whatever, if we can just focus on the conditions on your property on May 3rd, either they existed as Officer Drowns testified or they didn't. And so if you can just, if he's got a perception that there were junk-like conditions, tell me why he's wrong. That's what I need to hear.
Okay, let me break forward into my little spew here. The definition the county gives, and first of all, $630 to be able to print all applicable codes for Charlotte County. There are over 1,200 applicable codes we need to know. Okay, anyways, the statute states storage. Storage is a noun. The statute states violation, which is a noun. Without a verb in between the two, there is no statement. Would you have to agree?
Just go ahead and present your case. I can't. My legal interpretation is just going to be based on the evidence and the statutory language. But
well,
go ahead, just talk to me and tell me.
Okay.
Tell me why junk-like conditions. If you think that the code doesn't cover that, then tell me. You've explained partially why. So continue on in that regard and tell me why the code doesn't apply.
JD, I'm having a hard time right up here because I'm nervous. Your name? Renee, Andre. There's two more inspectors that have been in my house. The house has passed 5 times for the inspection. The house remains that way unless I'm cleaning up, unless I'm trying to move stuff off the yard. And according to JD, Renette, and Andre, and the two prior, I was told we would work with you. If we see you working on your property, or if we see we're trying to get your property cleaned up, we will work with you. Last month you said it to one person, and the month before it was said twice in here that the county will work with people. As long as I'm cleaning up the yard, and let's say, for instance, are there any pictures of my house at 9 o'clock in the morning? Let's say 8 o'clock in the morning.
I do not know. I'd have to look.
Are there any? So what time did you supposedly take the pictures? Give plus or minus noon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. lunchtime, whatever?
Generally around in the mornings or late afternoon, because we have our paperwork we do in the mornings.
But I'll help you out a little bit. I can actually look at the pictures and tell you what time it is. Both pictures were taken in the morning. Would you agree to that?
At this point, I don't see where it makes a difference one or the other. The pictures are accurate.
The picture. Are there any pictures of my house at 5 o'clock in the evening?
Not that I'm aware of.
So, getting back to the hummingbird, what you see of a picture of a hummingbird is the arms spread straight out. You would assume, if that is a fair and accurate question, that a hummingbird flies like a normal bird. But it doesn't. It has fast-moving wings. Let's slow the movement of the wings down for a minute and put it on my property.
Mr. Doppelmayr, we've been through this. I don't see any relevance at all.
I was cleaning my house up. They said they'd work with me. If I was cleaning up my house, if I was trying to get stuff off, which has been a continuing problem.
And tell me what you've been doing to clean it up, and because if your testimony is that the county has told you that they'll work with you where you're cleaning it up. Mm-hmm. I'm hearing about hummingbirds, baseballs in the sky.
Kind of confusing,
but I'm not hearing what it is that you've done. That's what I need to do to help you.
Okay. So again, what happens on my property, and I've had two of the younger kids in my neighborhood, we get together and we clean the property up. We've been at it, like we'll clean up a trailer. I think in April, there's pictures of me with the trailer half unloaded. And in those pictures, the red trailer is gone, meaning I can tell you exactly what time it is because that red trailer had just left the property. It'd go to the scrapyard, and we were still loading the other flat trailer. And from what I understand, if a violation isn't there for more than a day, it's not a violation. On the 5th, and this is what kills me, the 30th, God, what is it, April 30th, and I'm not doing this for sympathy, I'm just stating the facts. I had a heart attack. I had a heart attack while trying to load up a truck that was inoperable. The motor blew up that week. I was trying to put it on a trailer. As you can see in the pictures, there's a green trailer. Didn't fit on a trailer. We're about 3 feet short of being able to legally go down the road. So I wanted that trailer off the property so bad that I pulled the front end off it so it would fit on a trailer. And in the meantime, I gave myself a heart attack. That's how hard I try to stay in compliance with you. I didn't. One of my friends called from the emergency room, the ICU, because, I've got no dentures in and I got tubes up my nose, and stated to JD on a recording that I've had a heart attack. If I need to get the truck off the property, I will call a tow truck, but otherwise, that's money I have to borrow. Please advise, worst case scenario, I can get the truck off the road by Thursday or Friday. I had a friend come in town. He could have moved the truck, and it wouldn't have cost me a penny. To have the truck moved to where I needed it to would run about $600. It had to go up to Jacksonville to get the motor placed in it.
Okay.
So what you're doing is you're witnessing a hummingbird in mid-flap. There's no pictures before, there's no pictures of any, and like I said, when somebody's told they work with you, I would assume if you call the county, if you call your investigators, say, I've had a problem, they would do something besides show up 3 days later at your property, take pictures, refuse to talk to you, and send threatening emails. So, again, I'm in the midst of trying to clean up 2 times, actually 3 times, you missed one, where I'm getting steel off the land. There's campers, there's a toy hauler on there. I'm at the point, I actually got the camper to the point where you actually walk in it. Because in 2013, you guys pushed me back. I was asked if I was allowed to put a carport up. They said I was allowed to, so I put the carport up on there. You remember that? He told me the carport had to come down, which, by the way, Andre, you are the person that you should emulate as far as the investigators go in here. Very willing to work with people. Anyways, so I've been forced back into my house, my trailers, and everything like that, which sit at that time full. You open the door and wind gets in there, it's going to blow out a window. So what I do when I get the opportunity, when I get the help, is I clean my yard. I get the steel off it. There's stuff in those trailers. I've been periodically taking the stuff out of the camper and taking it to scrap. I've been taking other things off the property. And, your pictures clearly show what's going on. But the problem with the pictures, again, That's not how a hummingbird flies. Now, what I'm going to suggest could you read your request or your what is it when they fine you?
There's an affidavit that says that you didn't comply with my prior order.
Right, and they recommend that there's a certain fine.
Well, what it is you have an affidavit here of the that assesses the fine. So you're already up to $9,020 on fines.
My suggestion is we set this aside for 30 days. Let me and Mr. Horton sit down with the set of plans I've already delivered to him Monday evening late, and we discuss how we're going to do this. Otherwise, it's just going to turn into a whole hell of a mess. And let's face it, different from what was stated here last time, I believe you guys really want compliance in this town to look pretty. My house looks like, almost said it, my house is not a pretty house. I want to improve it. Now, I've got siding that I've had in limbo for 2 weeks now. And my question is this in front of court. If I bring that siding to my house right now to fix my house, is that a junk-like condition? That's a gray area, correct?
Well, I've got to see. If you noted, I haven't been able to look at any of these pictures because I've been listening to everything that's going on here. So,
okay.
If he's requesting a continuance of this to try to work something out, that would be up to the county to either approve, and then ultimately I'll have to make the decision on it. But
have you seen the plans?
He's asking to continue this under the representation that he'd be working with Officer Brown to get this thing finalized. And
to me, it just seems like a no-brainer. I mean, if the ultimate goal of the county is to get me in compliance, it seems like they'd be willing to work with me if they're more worried about the money and the fines than they're not.
Well, we're pretty far down the road, from the initial violation. I understand you're describing a very fluid situation on the property, but
it's been that way for 6 years, Your Honor. Every time, and you have to excuse me, I wasn't, I've done some studying this time, and I may not have it 100%, but I should have studied more and figured out what I could have done, because, again, it's the same violation over and over, and it's the same problem over and over again. It's when I'm trying to get the yard cleaned up that you guys come up after saying, if you're going to clean your yard, okay, I can see you're getting bored with my testimony, so.
Not that. It's just I wanted to find out from the county if you want to get this thing set for the next hearing agenda, then I want to find out if the county has an objection to that. And that's what
the county does object to that. This has been an ongoing issue, as stated, for many years now. The affidavit is dated May 3rd, 2018, and there's been additional dialogue between Officer Drown and the respondent. So the county would respectfully request that Your Honor deny that request. And just for informational purposes, there is a lien reduction program in place that the respondent may take advantage of once the property does come into compliance.
Thank you. I was going to mention that.
If I may, Your Honor, what this hearing does is it opens up the next, let's say if I have a Coca-Cola can that fell over off my counter, somehow rolled into the yard, it opens the opportunity for you to take my home on the next step, does it not?
Well, I think what the county's saying is that if this was cleaned up, you can apply for a reduction in the amount of the lien, and so that the ball has been in your court for some time. And your argument is technically that you can go and pick up one, say it's a cola bottle, and say that you're working in good faith to clean up the property when you have, a junk pile 10 feet high. So well, the point of it is it's got to come to an end, and that's what we're hopefully hear about today. Now, if it's the lien amount, council has reminded you that there is a procedure for you to reduce that. All you got to do is bring this into compliance. And really, as of May 3rd of this year, Officer Brown's testified, and I haven't heard you say otherwise, on May 3rd of this year, those violations that he described for you when you asked him about the code sections and the evidence to support them, I haven't heard you say that they didn't exist, just that all I heard is some technical arguments about the interpretation of the ordinance, which is my job to sort through, and I'll take a look at it. And also, that these violations apparently still exist. You say you're working on them, but we haven't gotten anywhere since the original order was entered in 2017. That's what I have to decide. Now, I'm not finished because I have to look at all of these other photographs and stuff. In fact, I want to make sure I've got all the exhibits returned to me. But what I'm going to do is I'm not going to make a ruling at this second. You're welcome to wait toward the end of the hearing, but I do want to take time to make sure I analyze all of these exhibits from the parties before I can rule on this, okay?
Well, it's, again, Your Honor, this goes back years and years, and it's the same complaint over and over again. And I did address was it May 3rd issue. I was removing junk off the property. I had a heart attack. I called JD again, I didn't call. My friend called that Monday morning, told him there was a problem. Now, whether they exist or not, you can argue both ways. But the point is, when I'm told that we'll work with you, when I'm told that we will work with you to try to get this place cleaned up if that's what you're doing, and then you call them up and say, I have this problem. There's no working there, and you try to address him. I still don't know what is causing the violations on my property. What exactly is it? I've been trying to find out for 3 months what exactly is the problem. Right. Nobody will tell me whether this trailer doesn't have a headlight that's working right. Nobody will tell me anything.
And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move on to the next case. I'm going to decide, and once I've had a chance to look at these photographs, and before we leave today, I'll have a decision on the request of the county, okay?
Thank you very much, Mr. Siegel. Sorry about that.
You're welcome. That's all right.
And I'll be outside smoking a cigarette.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate you showing me the time.
Okay. COD 17219, Heidi Gilbert. If you're present here, please approach the podium. Good morning, sir. Your name and address, please.
Stefan Moeller, 1438 Navigator Road. I'm Heidi Gilbert's son. She couldn't make it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Sir, we're going to follow the procedure that we did before. Hopefully it won't be as complicated or involved in this situation, but the county will go first, and then we'll give you a full opportunity to respond on behalf of your mother.
Yes,
the county's ready to proceed as first witness.
Officer Drown.
John Drown, Certified Code Compliance. The property address is 600 Edmund Street. The owner of the property is Heidi Gilbert. Case number COD 1700219. Case was heard before the magistrate on July 5th, 2017 for the violations of junk-like conditions and a prohibited use. I re-inspected the property on July 3rd, 2018 and found the violations substantially still exist. This is the second ANC, which is a 90-day fine for the amount of $4,520.
So my private order, this is the first year anniversary since my original order on this. Does county have anything further at this time?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Sir, would you tell me what's going on? You understand the issue is that on the May 21st of this year, Officer Drown says when he went back, he looked at the prior order. There were still issues there. And can you tell me if he's correct or not, and if he's not correct, why?
Yes, definitely still issues there. We are working on it. It's getting a lot better. After Hurricane Irma hit, there were some broken windows and a lot of water damage, and we're trying to get the inside fixed up before the mold gets out of hand. So we've been doing a lot of work inside the house also, because I do have a family trying to get moved in there. In fact, they're being forced out of their house as we speak right now. They're supposed to be out on the 1st. So honestly, I work full time. And the gentleman who's moving in has been helping, trying to get everything done to get moved in and safe. He's got 5 kids and a wife who's disabled. So we have been concentrating more on the inside. But we do have the fence up. I do have to redo the permit on it and get inspected. And we are just trying to get everything fixed up. We did get the yard mowed since he's been there, and there's no junk outside. And it's looking 100 times better. I apologize. It's been taking so long. It's kind of guilty with an explanation.
I understand, but because you have admitted there are some issues out there still.
Yes.
I'm going to have to affirm the affidavit. But once you get this cleaned up, you can apply for the reduction in this fee. Cause
Yes, JD told me that, and that's what we're going to do.
quite a bit.
We're not fighting anything. I just want to get it done and get this taken care of, and hopefully get the fine reduced.
Sure. Well, okay, then based on your testimony, I'm going to affirm the affidavit.
Okay.
If you do get it cleaned up, or I'm sorry, when you do get it cleaned
Yes.
up, I'll be more positive about it. Then if you can contact the county, I'm sure they'll help you about the procedures and the lien reduction process, okay?
Okay.
Thank you for your appearance this morning.
And I've got no hummingbirds to talk about either.
Okay, everybody's here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm told that there's no one else present on the consent affidavits. That being the case, then I'll go ahead and affirm the remainder of the affidavits as stated, except for the one I'm taking under advisement regarding Mr. Dubenmeyer. Okay, it takes us to agenda item X, new business. We have these two here?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll take, not sure how to. All right, we're going to call LGW 16-10. Robert Carbonera, Little Gasparilla, Frank and Anita Pizagur. Apologize if I'm butchering your name, but if you're here, if you'd please approach. Again, we're calling LGW 16-10, Frank Puissegur and Robert Carbonera. If you're here on that matter.
Oh.
Sorry? Yeah, I understand. Okay. Nobody out in the hallway then? All right, if the county's ready to proceed, your first witness, please.
Officer Gursky.
Good morning, Gail Gursky, Certified Code Compliance Officer for Charlotte County. 8268 Little Gasparilla Island is zoned BBI. The owners of record are Frank and Anita Pusiger.
Podium. County's ready to proceed. Its first witness.
Officer Bush.
My name's Charlie Bush. I'm a certified code compliance officer for Charlotte County. The address of this violation is 17179 Ursula Avenue and is zoned RSM F10. Owner of record are Judith and Roger Atwood. On May 16th, I conducted an inspection at the address and observed the following violations: outdoor storage of TVs, windows, unregistered boat out of setbacks. And during the investigation, I took photographs on the property on February 8th, February 26th, April 23rd, and June 2nd. I would like to offer these photographs into evidence as County Composite Exhibit 1.
There being no one here on behalf of the respondent and no objection, there'll be agenda item B, Jessica Peralt. If you're here, please approach the podium. I note that no one is present on behalf of Felix and Dana Rentis. If you're present on that matter, please approach the podium. I note that no one is present. Next to agenda item E, COD 18329, Charles Moore. If you're present on that matter, if you'd please approach the podium. See no one on behalf of 2414, Cheryl Jellerson. Cheryl Jellerson, if you're here, please approach the podium. I note that no one is present. Traster, if you're here, please approach the podium. A note for the record that no one is present on behalf of the respondent and that the county wishes to dismiss FBC Section 105.1 1022. Cynthia Smith, if you're present, please approach the podium. I note that agenda item K, COD 181419, Lawrence Newman. If agenda item L, COD 18462, William Prim. If you're present on that matter, please approach the podiums. I note that no one is present on behalf of the respondent.
Of course, County wants to deal with the...
Please. Marine Terrace. Upon to go to Florida, they find that the undisputed evidence establishes the existence of the charges set forth in the notice of violation and accept the county recommendation as my order. According to my agenda, that covers our hearings under Article 10, I think it is. All right. Okay. Moving on to Article 11 of the agenda, staff and citizen input, any subject. Don't see any takers, and we'll stand in adjournment.